Good morning, friends. Happy New Year. I am going to start the year off with a walk, and it's a bit later than I would prefer. I prefer to go to walks before it hits 8:30, but yeah, it's already been a morning, so we're just gonna go and we're gonna enjoy some sunshine and then come back and I'm gonna talk to you about this vlog because I'm very excited about it. I am back. It is now just on 10 o'clock. I've just made my smoothie. I did not walk for that long. I was probably on my walk for about 20 minutes. And then I just sort of came back, chilled out, had a shower, made myself a smoothie. And I'm now ready to talk about what this vlog theme is going to be, which hopefully from the title you will know. So I don't often read seasonally. I think the biggest seasonal month for me is usually October, when I tend to read paranormal romances, but compared to the majority of people on BookTube, particularly the people in the Northern Hemisphere, I don't read seasonally because my seasons are different. It is currently summer, if you couldn't tell by all of the light that is coming through the windows, and it is very, very difficult to find seasonal content that matches my part of the world when I'm watching it, because while I do follow a lot of Australian content creators, a lot of the readathons and everything that happen throughout the year are seasonally themed for the Northern Hemisphere. That's a discussion for another point in time, but during discussions when sort of content planning for this year, it was suggested that I don't really do seasonal content, so maybe I could try doing them every now and then. So you are getting a summer vlog because I am on my summer break, and I have decided to go with books for this vlog that either have summer in the title or are very summery, hot, seasonally themed. So there are 6 books. None of these books were on my reset TBR because it was a surprise and I needed to add another 6 books to that massive TBR, clearly. There are a range of books in here, some which I've been meaning to read for the longest time, so I'm prioritizing them for this vlog. The 6 books that I have are Summer Mango by Lanera. I apologize if I butcher that. I can't be trusted to read book title names. It's Mango Summer. Yeah, this started off well, didn't it? They are a Filipino author, I believe. Anyway, this is a romance. There is Summer Magic by T.M. Cromer, which I think is a paranormal romance. The Grump Who Stole Summer by Ella Fields. 6 Summers to Fall by C.W. Farnsworth. Some Bali to Love by Carla de Guzman. I think, again, she is also a Filipino author. I'm very excited about this one. This one, as soon as I heard about it, I downloaded it. I just didn't get around to reading it. So we're going to prioritize that. And the first book that I'm going to start with, because I keep putting this on TBRs and I never read it, and I really need to read it because it's meant to be fantastic, and I'm going to read it first because if I don't read it first, I'm not going to read it, and it's because it's a book that terrifies me. I don't know why, but it just does, and I keep putting it on TBRs and not reading it. So it is You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Quiki and Mezzi, and I'm going to dive in. I don't know if this is actually summer themed, but all of the covers, the various covers for this book, just scream summer to me, or at least hot weather. So we're going to read it. I'm also going to try and do a few things like holiday / summer themed things during this vlog. Tomorrow I'm going to the National Gallery of Victoria with my sister and brother-in-law and my niece, and we are specifically going to take Miller to the Children's Gallery, which has a special exhibit up at the moment. But there is also a massive free exhibit that takes place in the entire International Gallery. I don't know if I'll get to see all of that tomorrow, and if I don't, I'll probably go back later in the week and just do the rest of it on my own. So I will have footage of that, and then any other bits and pieces that I do over the next week and a bit as I'm filming this vlog. So I hope you enjoy it. Happy summer from where I am, and I will check in once I have started reading the book. Okay, so I am 50% of the way into You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, and it is such an interesting book. It's very, very well written, and Mezzi just has this gorgeous way of crafting character. So we are following Faye, I think. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. And the book opens with her. She's out with her friend, and it's been 5 years since her husband has died in a car accident that she survived. And so there's a whole lot of grief that she's working through. And the first part of the book is her starting to sleep with a guy, and then she meets his friend, and there's a very amicable split. And then she starts to get to know this friend Nazir more. She lets him know, about her past and that she's really not ready for a relationship. So they start with this friendship, and she's an artist, and he's able to get her a spot in a museum gallery show and ends up flying her down to stay with his family. in the islands, and that's where she meets his father Aleem. So this is it feels very much lit fic, but a very accessible lit fic with romantic elements, because she begins to realize that she has this very deep attraction to Nazir's father, and there is a 19-year age gap between the two of them. He is a very famous chef and she is an artist, and they have a lot of similarities in the past. He's lost his wife, and so they have this shared grief, this understanding of it. And also they're very artistic, creative types, and where I got up to, it's really just sort of this first scene where they've just had this moment, which is complicated of course by the fact that Faye is staying there with his son Nazir, and I'm interested to see where this is going to go, because it's going to get messy. Surely it's going to get messy. The whole time that Emezi was describing Aleem's house, it just sounds gorgeous. I mean, I could not live there, and there was a quote from Nazir basically saying, because the whole place is almost glass and it's surrounded by beautiful mountains and forests, and Nazir made a crack about constantly feeling like somebody could be out there watching, which would totally be me. I'm like that even in an apartment building, and I'm not even on the ground floor, but it just sounds beautiful. So I can appreciate that. Anyway, I'm gonna keep reading. You know when you just struggle to find words to kind of just encapsulate what you're thinking, possibly because you need way more time to think about it. So I just finished You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, and it's an incredible book. It really is. And as I said before, just so well written and so well characterized, and it doesn't shy away from the messiness, which I think sometimes we get in romance books. Like, people go for the drama, but they don't necessarily go for the messiness of people being human, and, you know, the fallout of this relationship coming to light, particularly in the way that it does. The fact that through it all you have two people who have experienced incredible grief and who are being asked to quantify and define and explain the love that they have for one another from other people who have not experienced that. And through it all, just remaining steadfast to the fact that this is not a relationship that they expected to happen, but it's one that they have lent into and chosen because for the first time in a long time, it makes them feel whole and happy and like they're part of something. And there is a beautiful line there's this beautiful line that Faye says when trying to explain her relationship with Aleem, and it's that she feels so alone all of the time, and just being with him, knowing that he also feels alone. They're alone, like they can be alone together, and they are still alone, but they also have it like a kindred spirit. And I haven't directly quoted that, but it was along those lines. And it's just like, it's a beautiful way to talk about grief and loss and love and finding your person. Look, if we're talking about books to start the year, I suppose I really couldn't have done any worse than this book. So yes, again, I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up on my favorites of 2024 list, and it's only the first day in January, so we're doing well. Hi everyone. So you all have seen that I went out to the NGV Gallery, which is the National Gallery of Victoria. I would have inserted a couple of clips of some of the exhibits. I didn't get to see the whole thing. Obviously Miller did not last the entire day. So I will be going back probably later this week to go and check out the rest of it, which will be fun. It was pretty busy because everyone's still on holidays and it's free, so there were lots of people around, but she had a really great time. She loved the children's gallery. She was so happy in there. It was very bright and colourful. It was very loud. Jess and her husband and I were just going, oh, we're getting a headache, but she was loving it because it was so bright and very, very cool. And then we took her up to see the Bluey Christmas windows because they hadn't seen them yet and they finish in 2 days. And on the way home, the thunderstorm decided to roll in. I don't know if you guys can see that, but this is a delightful summer thunderstorm. I do love a good storm though. So I am going to get changed just because I'm a little bit wet and a bit gross from walking around. It was very humid in the city, and then I'm going to come back. I did start Bali to Love, which has been really good so far. The heroine has gone to, I think it's like the engagement party or the pre-wedding party for one of her best friends, and her whole group of friends is reuniting for it, including the hero, who is a celebrity actor kind of person, and they haven't seen each other in years, and he pretends to be her fake boyfriend when she comes face to face with someone who is horrifically fatphobic. The premise has been set up that the setup is that the friend group is going to Bali for a period of time, and it's going to be part of some vlog slash reality TV thing. So I'm not very far into it. I think I'm only like 10% in, but yeah, after I get changed, I will come back and fill you in on what's going on. All right, so I finished Bali to Love. It's a very cute story. So you have Ava and you have Scott, and they were friends in college and were separated for lots of reasons that you sort of get into. That's part of the drama because they both had feelings. Well, Ava had feelings for Scott. Scott didn't realize that, but was still demonstrating that he had feelings, but he ended up leaving. And part of it was because of his celebrity status and the fact that he was the son of a very famous actress, and there's a whole lot of stuff that went on with that. But obviously they reconnect, and then in Bali they're forced into proximity. They're staying in a one-bedroom villa with only one bed, and there's a whole lot of games and shenanigans, and they're pretending to date, and it forces them to, you know, have a conversation or two or three about their feelings. There is a brief moment of miscommunication in sort of the last 20% of the book, but it's resolved fairly quickly, for which I am thoroughly grateful. It was beautiful how Carla de Guzman talked about Bali, and also all of the characters are from Manila. So it was a really lovely read, and there's a bit of a foodie element in there for you because Scott now runs a food style reality TV show where he travels around and tries food from different Asian countries. So yes, thoroughly cute, very summery, highly recommend. I have just finished reading Mango Summer by a guy, Lanera, I think it is. Hang on, I should just, you know, look at the cover and check all of this out before I start talking about the books, because that would be professional of me. Agay Lanera, I think. Anyway, this was super cute and very sort of slow burn. It's kind of got a magical realism element to the story. So it is about a woman called Fiona whose family has had this mango farm for generations, and the story always goes that it's passed on to the oldest daughter, and this farm produces the sweetest, juiciest mangoes around. Like, they're famous and well known for being like that. And there's this legend that it's to do with the owner of the farm falls in love and has a child. And so at the very start of the book, Fiona is tasting one of the mangoes, and it is sour, and it is completely different from anything that they've grown before, because she is not married, she doesn't have children, and she's the first woman sort of in her family line to be in this situation. She's in her mid-30s and is just feeling very down about all of this. And then her best friend's brother happens to come by the farm. Her best friend, who Fiona hasn't spoken to for a while for some reasons that we find out throughout the story. Her brother comes to get some mangoes for his sister because she's pregnant and is craving the mangoes, and he ends up staying and helping Fiona with the farm because they can't sell the mangoes as is. They're coming up with alternative ways to sell it through mango jam and mango cookies and things like that. And then they also pursue a line of Fiona hosting weddings on the farm. Greg is younger than Fiona and has always sort of had this crush on her, and the more time they spend together, the more that they begin to develop feelings for one another and a respect for each other, and particularly a respect around sort of the work they're doing helping each other out. And it's just very slow burn and very, like, it's definitely a summer read, but it's also very cozy in that it just sort of takes its time. It's not trying to rush through the story. It's just a really nice little storyline. But yeah, there is discussion in here around marriage and having kids, and Greg's sister does have a baby during the course of this book, so there is a lot of that talk in here, but it didn't feel preachy, and it doesn't end in a baby log. It sort of leaves you questioning, but it does not end in a baby log, which was nice. So yes, this one was just very sweet and just a really lovely read. Hi guys, so I am back with the next book that I'm going to be reading, Summer Magic by T.M. Cromer. I've just finished bulk filming, so this lipstick is going to come off very soon because I need to find some food. Also, there is construction noise going on, so I'm amazed that I managed to get through bulk filming 5 videos without having the construction noise, but as soon as I finished it started up, so we're just going to thank whoever was looking out for me that I managed to get that done. But yes, I'm going to read Summer Magic. This is the Thorn Witches book 1, and I thought that this was kind of going to be the same couple throughout the series, but it turns out that it's not. There are different couples, so that makes me feel better because it means it's just one book that I have to get through. So I'm not going to have a cliffhanger that's going to drive me nuts at the end of it. So all I know is it is witches, small town. The hero, I think, is the sheriff, and it's possibly like a neighbors to lovers mystery sort of story. So I'm going to start reading, turn this off because the background noise is annoying, but I will check in soon. All right, so there's been a lot of noise. I'm pretty sure it's about to kick in any second now, but I DNF'd Summer Magic because it was the wrong side of quirky for me. I got about 10% in, so I did give it 10%. It opens with the female protagonist Summer's elephant in the male protagonist's pool, and everything sort of just goes downhill from there. Also, Summer is the main character's name. Her sisters are, predictably, autumn, winter, and spring, and that just... I can handle summer as a name. I can even handle winter as a name. But when everything is just all the same, yeah, no. Doesn't work for me. Anyway, I'm not dwelling on the fact that we have a DNF. It's the first DNF of the year, but that's totally fine. I am, however, going to read Six Summers to Fall by C.W. Farnsworth. I am 6% of the way into that and I'm enjoying it so far. But I think this is going to be a fairly heavy book. It does seem to be dealing with a lot of grief and loss, and yeah, we shall see. All right, so I finished Six Summers to Fall, and that was a surprisingly delightful read, considering the heavy sort of undercurrent of the book. It was just very easy to read, just very easy to sink into the characters and be invested in them. So we have Harper, who is still grieving the loss of her father, and he unalived himself 10 years earlier, and they were very close. Like, he was the closest person to her in her family. And so she took that quite hard. And she's been estranged from her mother and her sister ever since because everyone grieves in different ways. And so she's headed up to this week-long event before her sister's wedding. And she goes back to the cabin where she and her family used to spend their summers. And there she runs into Drew, who was the guy that she had a crush on growing up. They spent 5 summers together when they were teens, and she had the biggest crush on him, and unbeknownst to her, he also had a crush on her. So she ends up spending the night in this place, and that's sort of where we figure out a lot about this history, and that was the last place where her father was. And so you have this grief coming in there, and Drew is just an absolute sweetheart. He plays hockey professionally. He plays for Washington, and part of the conflict in this, well, part of the conflict is the fact that eventually they live on opposite ends of the country. So she lives in New York, but he offers to go to this wedding with her as part buffer, part moral support, because he just sees that she doesn't think she's got anyone in her corner, and she's dealing with this all day. She comes across as quite confident, but is not necessarily confident in herself. And so they spend this week together, and everyone believes that they are in a real relationship. And they fall for one another. But then the week ends and they have to go their separate ways. Anyway, everyone around them sort of conspires for them to get back together, and so it was kind of delightful in that sense. And the title is basically the 5 summers that they spent together as kids plus the summer that they spend together in the book being what leads them to one another. And as I said, Drew is just an absolute sweetheart. And look, I think maybe people would find Harper's sort of lack of confidence in herself a bit of a drawback for the character. Seriously. Hi everyone, it's the next day. I genuinely can't remember where I left off talking about 6 summers to fall yesterday. I just had to stop filming because the noise would not go away. But it is the weekend now, so no workmen are working on the weekend. I don't remember what I said. I legitimately don't. I really enjoyed the book. It was fun, it was summery, it was tough to read at times, but it was also just very heartwarming, the relationship that these two had. And there was a little bit of hockey on page, so I am counting it in my hockey romances because why not? He is a hockey player. And unlike some hockey romances, he actually plays his sport on page at least once. But I'm glad that I actually finally picked this one up because I remember when it came out, I just never read it. I have just finished filming my Books Beside My Bed video and I'm about to head into the city. I think I'm going to do the last couple of floors at the NGV for the Triennial, so I'll probably get some more footage of that. It is a very sunny, summery day here, so I'll get some footage of the city in the sun. And I'm going to read the last book for this vlog, which I'm pretty sure I said that I thought that that 6 Summers to Fall was the last book. It's not. One of the original books for this TBR was The Grump Who Stole Summer. I'm going to read that today, and then we'll probably wrap this vlog up. So I will talk to you guys a little bit later today.
I set out on a road that I built with my own 2 hands. I met friends on the way, people chosen to make a stand. I I felt strong in the sun as I walked onto pastures green. Saw forgiveness together as spaces in between. And I'll be with you through the night. And I'll turn every wrong to right. Baby, we're children of summer, we're meant to be free. Honey, we're not like the others, no reason to be. And my ventures, they brought me to places I've never been. But you can walk through this world without a few punches upon your chin. I think I lost you somewhere between 20 and 23. But I still hold you dear despite the heartbreak you caused in me. 'Cause you were with me through my nights. And you filled the darkness with shining lights, yeah. Children of summer, we're meant to be free. Honey, we're not like the others, no reason to be. Lady, this fire in our lungs, so it's too hard to breathe. Lover, I live for the day you and I turn to we. To think of you now, though my memories turning bleak. I'm still walking this road on my knees, they are ever so weak. I never thanked you for putting your faith on a bum like me, yeah. And wherever you are, I think it's here you were meant to be. Children of summer, we're meant to be free. Honey, we're not like the other, no reason to be. Lady, this fire in our lungs, so it's too hard to breathe. Lover, I live for the day you and I turn to me.
Hi everyone, so I am here to wrap up this vlog, but before we do that I have to talk about the last book that I read. So you will have seen I did go back to the NGV. I had a great time going in there this morning. Sorry if you can hear the laptop exporting videos in the background, it's been that kind of day. I love going back to the NGV. I managed to get in there fairly early, like before lunchtime this morning, so it was a little bit quieter. I went straight up to the top floor and just sort of worked my way down and saw the exhibits that I didn't see earlier in the week. Great time. I got to do the interactive exhibits, which included one where you were encouraged to write things about your mum. So did you spot mine? I don't know. And there was also the one exhibit that I really wanted to see, and I forgot to take a photo of the name of the artist, but it was this gorgeous rug that was like a solar system, and then you're encouraged to lie down on the rug and look up, and there is an installation of glass beads hanging on wire or fishing line, one of the two. Anyway, it was stunning. It was just really, really nice to go in there and just sort of see those last exhibits. And the really cool thing is the way they've set up the galleries. So they have all of this very contemporary art set up amongst the more traditional art that you would expect to see in an international gallery. And so some of the rooms you walk into are these really old portraits and landscapes and things like that, and then in the center of the room you've got all of these triennial art pieces, which was really, really cool and just a nice contrast. So that was fun going back and seeing the rest of those. Then I walked back up St Kilda Road towards the city, so I was going through one of the parks and saw the flower clock and whatever. So that was fun. And on the train in and out of the city, I was reading The Grump Who Stole Summer by Ella Fields. Ella Fields is apparently an Australian author. So another Australian author ticked off my bucket list. And I am not 100% sure how I feel about this book. I'm going to be really, really honest. I don't know how I feel about it. This one felt very new adult in its tone. So it is a contemporary romance, and it is a second chance romance between Alice and Smith, who met as teens. Alice comes from a very wealthy family. Her mother runs a makeup beauty empire kind of thing. When we meet Alice at the start of the book, she has a real chip on her shoulder. She's just been caught naked by the tabloids, and her mother has basically ripped her a new one because of the bad publicity. And so Alice is forced to return to their small town to complete her college degree, and she's also been forcibly volunteered to help out at a local bookstore. And there she discovers that it is owned by a guy that she had a crush on in her teens, Smith. And he is a massive, massive grump. He has experienced quite a lot. He was involved in a house fire when he was quite young. It resulted in the death of his mother, and he has severe burns on his body as a result. And he is just carrying this massive chip around on his shoulder. They had connected at her sister's house parties because he is unable to communicate his feelings. When it gets too much, he ends up kissing her sister, knowing full well that she can see him in the past. And so obviously this causes a massive rift, and they haven't seen each other for years. And so they're back in town, they're forced into proximity, and they're having to work together. And like, there were times when I really liked the story, and then there were times when I'm just like, that's a choice. That's a choice that's been made, and I'm not quite sure I'm happy with it. There were points when I seriously considered DNFing the book, and then I'm like, I don't dislike it enough to completely stop reading it, and I was kind of curious to see where it went. It got very dramatic. And I think the one thing that bothered me is it just felt very much like a rich white girl problem kind of story. Everyone in this book needed to be in therapy. Everyone in this book needed to be in therapy. So I legitimately actually do not know how I feel about it, because depending on how I think about it, I both strongly dislike it and also am vaguely surprised that I got through the book. So, and I've had no issue DNFing books. I've DNF'd 2 books already in the first week of January, so it's not like I wouldn't have DNF'd it. There was something that kept me reading, but then there were times I was like, do I really want to? I don't know, but I finished it. So I don't know. Look, we had some really good books. I read a lot of great new to me authors. You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty is going to be on my top of 2024 book list at the end of the year. So I mean, I can't say anything. This vlog has done well. To that end, I'm going to wrap up this vlog because we could just spiral. We could just spiral from here. So hopefully you enjoyed my seasonal summer vlog. I know that for the majority of you, you're overseas and it is cold and not as nice and warm as it's been here, but hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hope you've enjoyed the little sneak peeks at the gallery and sort of the summer weather or the summer storms that we've had. If you've read any of these books, feel free to chat to me about them in the comments. If you have any other books that you recommend for summer reads, feel free to let me know. And if you just want to let me know that you're here but you don't want to leave a comment, feel free to leave any kind of summer themed emoji in the comments. I hope that wherever you are in the world you're doing really well, and I will see you in my next video. Bye everyone.